Hey, Walt here from StogieReview.com with another video cigar review. This time around we're doing a house blend cigar made by Ernesto Perez Carrillo for Abels. It's Flores Tobacconist in Summit, New Jersey. Flores is spelled with a Z. It's Florez tobacconist.com for more information. The cigars are the Abels Premium Selection, and this is the gift box Papo size. Now, Abel Flores was kind enough to send me these cigars a little while back. Actually, I think I've been sitting on them since around Christmas time, smoking one here and there, and it's really overdue for a review. So let's fire one up, talk about it a little bit. I'll give you some of the information that I have about the cigar. We'll talk about my first impressions, because there are a couple, and we'll kind of get things underway. So first and foremost, the Papo size is massive. It's I guess it's kind of like a Churchill, but it just seems larger for some reason. I think it's a 56 by 7. The format comes in proper for a Churchill size, or at least it sounds proper, but the cigar just seems kind of big, to be a Churchill. It feels almost somewhere in the middle between a Churchill and a 60 by 7 or something. It's kind of a bit strange in the hand. It's got a pigtail cap, and it's got the dreaded sort of like a shaggy foot where the wrapper is kind of folded over top. And I'm really not a fan of that. So before we do anything, the first thing I'm going to do is break out my handy dandy pocket knife, and I'm going to cut that off, because anytime that I see this there, it just winds up flaking and flowering, getting all over the place. And I know some people find it to be, kind of like an elegant addition to the cigar. I personally don't. I absolutely hate it. It is, I don't know, it's more work, but I actually think of it as lazy, and it kind of irks me when I see that. So that folded over foot is gone. We'll get the cap clipped, and we'll start talking about it. So the cigar is, it looks well constructed. The wrapper looks clean, small veins, no defects, no eyesores. It just it looks good and solid. The band is very simple, and I like that. It isn't one of those big flashy bands, and I appreciate that. In a cigar. The big flashy bands are nice sometimes, but sometimes I just want simplicity. So, first impressions are, this is really jumbling this thing around. Let me read you the little bit of information that they sent. Can you tell it's been a little while since I've done this? Okay, so the information goes on to say, Abels cigars are a product of a collaborative effort. Very carefully, I have selected the blends that the skillful work of great artisans under the supervision of master blender Ernesto Carrillo have transformed to offer you a unique smoking experience. My most sincere gratitude to Ernesto Carrillo and his family for being so opening and listening to my ideas and suggestions. This, added to his many years of experience, is what has allowed us to produce such a premium cigar. The wrapper is Ecuadorian Connecticut, binder is Connecticut broadleaf, the filler is a Nicaraguan and Dominican blend, and the body is considered to be medium to full. So I told you that I had some first impressions of this cigar, and that was before I even lit it up. As I said, Abel Flores was kind enough to send me a box of the Papo size. It's a 10-count box, and when it arrived in the mail, I opened up the box, and I looked down at it, and I think, okay, that looks pretty good. I've been really eager to try the cigar leading up to this point, because Ernesto Perez Carrillo had a hand in making it. Now, I wouldn't consider myself an Ernesto Perez Carrillo fanboy or anything, but I'm really fond of his products. I like the vast majority of it, and I was really eager to try something else that he had his hand in. you know, the crowned head stuff has really taken off, and he's involved in that. His own stuff has really taken off, and obviously he's involved in his own stuff. So I was kind of eager to get my hands on this. So I reach into the box, I grab it, and I think this is weird. I pick up the box, and immediately my mind went to the old cigar that I don't know whether Drew Estate still makes it, but at one point in time they did, and it was really popular. It was the La Vieja Habana Fuma. It was a mixed filler cigar, and if you remember it, it was basically a bed of cigars laid out in a bed of tobacco inside this box, and it was it was like a beetle paradise with all the tobacco. And what housed all this was what almost felt like a cereal box with the cigar branding printed on the outside, and it felt so cheap and flimsy, and just it was probably the worst presentation in a cigar that I had ever seen at that point. But the cigar was fantastic, so I ignored it. I always ditched the loose tobacco because I was always paranoid about a beetle outbreak as a result of just that loose tobacco in there. And I was pretty happy for what it was. It was a really inexpensive cigar. Well, when I picked up this box, I got that same impression. I'm looking at it and I'm like, this doesn't look right. Well, it's like that same cardboard sort of material with stuff printed on the outside and a faux wood grain on the inside. So it's I'm really not enthusiastic about the packaging, and even less so when I looked up the pricing on the cigar. Leading up to this, I had no idea what the cigars cost. I was just smoking them and enjoying them. And right before I turned the camera on, I went to the Flores Tobacconist website to get some pricing information, because it was the one piece of information that I wasn't given when the box and information was shipped to me some time ago. And the box of Papos, which I have, is $170.55 for 10 cigars. So at $17 a piece, right now I'm just sort of it blows my mind that a $17 cigar comes packaged in what feels like a cereal box. But we got to keep our eye on the prize here and see if the cigar stands up. You never know. Maybe the box is designed that way to keep costs down, and this could really be a $22 cigar with a nice wooden box. So you really never know. Well, I'm coming up on the halfway point of my Abels Premium selection, and I've got to say I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's got really good burning characteristics. You get a nice thick smoke volume each and every time. It's not one of those high maintenance cigars where you need to keep relighting it every so often. It just burns and performs very well. It's got a nice even burn. The ash holds a nice shape. It doesn't flake or flour or make a mess or unexpectedly fall in your lap. It's just stellar in the sense of construction and smokability. I'm just really impressed with it in that regard. In the flavor profile, I'm enjoying it, but I find myself thinking a lot about the EPC New Wave Connecticut. The flavor profile between that cigar and this one is very similar, and the New Wave Connecticut, the 6x60, the El Ducano, I believe, is one of the few larger format cigars that I enjoy. It is one example of where watering down the flavor profile a little bit with that big, large ring gauge seems to do a lot for the cigar. And I'm getting that same watered down almost marrying of flavors in this cigar that I do in the El Ducano. I hope I'm calling it the proper name. But I'm seeing a lot of similarities between the New Wave Connecticut 6x60 and the Abels Premium Cigar Premium Selection Connecticut. I think that there's a lot of comparison between the two, and it's almost as if the best of the New Wave profile is in this cigar. It's got that telltale Connecticut bitterness about it that goes really well with coffee. It's got a little bit of a woody flavor. It's got a creaminess on the palate. It doesn't linger for very long. The aftertaste subsides after a few seconds, and the palate is left clean. So both in the sense of flavor profile and construction. I'm very happy with it. The only drawback at this point, I keep thinking back to that $17 price tag. It's just a very difficult hurdle to get over. Before I knew how expensive the cigar was, I was raving about these things. They were fantastic. I'm smoking them when time allows, and I'm really happy. But now that I know what it costs to go out and buy one, now I'm on the fence. I really like the cigar, but I think $17 is a lot to ask for it. We've got a lot more cigar to smoke, so I'm going to do that off camera. I'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about the cigar, and we'll see if it lives up to that $17 price tag. Right now, it's well on its way, but I'm on the fence. Well, I'm coming down the home stretch on my Abels Premium Selection, and I've been spending the last few minutes taking a look at the Flores Tobacconist website. Now, the big deciding factor in this cigar has been the price. At least it's been the price ever since I saw it. And $17 when purchased by the box is a very large hurdle to get over. So I wanted to see if there were lesser priced options, and there most certainly is, which is fantastic. The Papo is a special release limited edition, which is obviously going to drive the price up. It's understandable. That's what happens when you have limited production, limited release kind of things. So if you're looking for a single Papo, they're $18.95, a bit more than when you buy them by the box. However, there are a variety of other options. We've got a double Corona at $12.95, a Corona at $7.95, or a Busto at $7.95, a Torpedo at $11.95, and a Churchill at $11.95. So there are lesser priced options, and that's fantastic. That puts this cigar more in line with cigars that I think it is similar to. And one of the cigars that I think this is very similar to is the EPC New Wave Connecticut. It's not quite the same. However, I think that they're close enough that you can kind of compare and contrast one another. And the flavor profile of this has gotten even better. It's becoming more rich. It's got a bit of sort of like a meaty flavor to it. As it gets shorter, it's getting more robust and heartier. And now is when the full-bodied portion of the description begins to shine. Throughout the first and second third, it was medium. It really didn't lift up beyond that. Now that we're in the final stages of the cigar, it's settling into being medium to full, and I think it delivers just wonderful flavors. It's got woody tones, it's got that heartiness to it, it's got that Connecticut bitterness that shines and does a really good job of drawing everything together and just pulling all those flavors in. And I think this cigar really shines. I'm really impressed by it. I like it quite a bit. I don't know that I like it enough to spend $170 per box or $18.95 per single, but it is a very good smoke. If this sounds interesting to you, I would suggest trying the lesser priced options and then going up from there. Unless you've got money to burn, in which case go all in and just buy the $19 Papos. Construction has been excellent throughout. No issues whatsoever. I think I might need to touch it up now for the first time, and that's just because it's been sitting in the ashtray a little bit as I do some research and do some other things, multitask. I think I've been smoking this for about 3 hours, and I know when I start giving times for how long it takes me to smoke a cigar, I get a lot of people, "Oh, you're crazy. It never takes that long. You're inflating the number," and that's just you're just wrong. And the fact of the matter is, I'm a very slow smoker. Cigars tend to spend a lot of time in the ashtray, and I find that if I'm home in this environment, the cigar spends more time in the ashtray, and ultimately it stretches what would normally be like an hour-and-a-half cigar into a 3-hour cigar. If I were out or in the car or sitting at the cigar shop, the cigar's in my hand all the time. I'm just more inclined to smoke it more frequently, and as a result, the smoke time drops dramatically. So a more realistic time might be an hour-and-a-half to 2 hours, unless you're in a situation like me where you're just kind of sitting back and doing other things, in which case you're looking at maybe 3 hours. If you're a really slow smoker, that may push out to 3.5, maybe 4 hours. The very first one that I smoked lasted almost 4 hours. So again, it really depends on the speed in which you smoke in terms of how long the cigar is going to last. And even spending all that time in the ashtray, this is about the only time I'm going to need to touch it up. So I'm very happy with it. I don't know that I would fork over the money for the Papo Special Edition. It's just a lot of money, and I'm not super into limited edition special release stuff. I'm more inclined to buy the regularly released lesser price stuff because I think it gives you a very similar experience. I haven't tried the other, so I don't know if the blend is tweaked, if this is a little bit different, or if it's just a special release size. So ultimately, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it, especially if you're into Connecticut's, like the EPC New Wave, the Oliva Connecticut. This is kind of similar to that. Good, solid, medium to full, easy on the palate, smooth flavors. Just all in all, good smoke. Goes great with coffee.